Did the Republicans make the case? Did they show that FBI agent Peter Strzok did things that tainted the Trump probe? That was the bar, and they took 10 hours to try. Early on, literally, there were attacks going in all directions. Take a look.
Where is the disgrace?
You've been out of control since you've been on this committee.
Harassment of the witness.
What's wrong with that? You need your medication.
Point of order is not well taken.
It's right on point.
No, it's not.
So, when lawmakers were actually asking questions of the witness, we saw Republicans unload on Peter Strzok with both barrels.
If you want to represent what you said accurately, I'm happy to answer that question, but I don't appreciate what was originally said being changed.
I don't give a damn what you appreciate, Agent Strzok.
Trey Gowdy, I guess he went back to being Captain Benghazi. Remember Trey Gowdy saying, I have to leave. These hearings, they're all about political partisanship and huff and puff. They're not about light. Then you got that mug out of him today. And this was more about making allegations than asking anything. And the result, frustration.
Sir, it is as frustrating to me as it is to you. I can tell you, sir, that I would love...
Well, you know what, Agent
Strzok?
Mr. Chairman, may the witness be permitted to answer.
If gentlemen will suspend...
If it's so frustrating, answer the question. If you'll allow him to, I'm sure he will. He has never answered the question who Bourne and Simpson are.
Now, we're showing you the highlights, but I have to tell you, this was unique, what we saw today. The level of disarray, the level of dysfunction on really all sides. A standout moment, though. A Republican made Trump's case that the probe is a witch hunt by attacking Strzok as a philanderer. Not a trace of irony on his face. Listen to this.
I can't help but wonder when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chair. Now, I just want to emphasize this. It was much more heat than light today. And literally, you just heard that Republican congressman from Texas, Gohmert, say, believe Trump, not Strzok, because Strzok had an affair. And he did it with a straight face. And he never, ever has said anything like this about the president, no matter what the allegation. Put that in the hopper. All right, now what about Peter Strzok? He didn't come out, as might have been expected, contrite, very sorry about what he did. And remember, it was his text that got him in all this trouble. Instead, he came out swinging.
This isn't just me sitting here telling you, you don't have to take my word for it. At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions. They would not tolerate any improper behavior in me any more than I would tolerate it in them. That is who we are as the FBI. And the suggestion that I, in some dark chamber somewhere in the FBI, would somehow cast aside all of these procedures, all of these safeguards, and somehow be able to do this is astounding to me. It simply couldn't happen. And the proposition that that is going on, that it might occur anywhere in the FBI, deeply corrodes what the FBI is in American society, the effectiveness of their mission, and it is deeply destructive.
Who's applauding, who's booing, this is all about what you see through your partisan lens. But that's why the hearing was supposed to be different. They were supposed to establish facts that make their case in this showdown with Strzok about the fact that his bias led to bad actions in this probe that make it a witch hunt. What did they find? Really 4 things, okay? Strzok screwed up by sending those texts. He exhibited bias against Trump, okay? And that's true. And it's really just one text, okay? This text came back to haunt him all day long. Trump's never ever going to become president, right? No, he won't. We'll stop it. He tried to explain it away by saying the American people would vote against him and he wouldn't win. Wasn't that compelling. And he admitted, Strzok, the texting was wrong on several levels. One of them means that he arguably violated the FBI's code of conduct. Strzok didn't have a great rebuttal for that either. Now, because of that, they argue that Strzok has no integrity. That is relevant only if used to offset competing stories about what happened in the probe, and that is the problem for the GOP after today, 10 hours of today. No proof was offered that Strzok did something acting on bias. Okay, so is it over? No. Because ultimately, this isn't about Strzok. It's about coming for Mueller. How do we know? 2 examples. Listen to Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Certainly then, when you were removed, was it clear to you that Mr. Mueller was aware of these incendiary text messages?
Yes.
So he knew of the text messages, but never asked you whether you were biased or not.
That's correct.
Exhibit A. Exhibit B. This moment from Jim Jordan when he was getting after this connection of Hillary Clinton to the dossier.
One more time, just say it. Bruce Orr gave the FBI documents relating to and supporting or part of the dossier. Is that accurate?
Mr. Orr gave the FBI documents which included material that I believe originated from Mr. Steele.
All right. Steele was working for Orr was working for Fusion GPS. GPS was getting paid by the Clinton campaign, so therefore she was funding the research that went into the dossier. Except we knew that. We knew that Hillary Clinton's campaign had been funding the work of GPS that went into developing the dossier, whether it's worthy or not, okay? And Matt Gaetz's eureka moment about he never asked you if you were biased. Where was the time? As soon as Mueller found out about the texts, what happened to Strzok? He was gone. So he didn't need to have a conversation with him. He acted. He acted before he even asked him anything about it. If anything, I think that little back and forth may have worked against Gaetz's interest, but that's for you to decide. All right, so here is the big takeaway. There are 3 facts that work against the GOP, and I don't know they did anything to vitiate or get rid of them today. If Strzok wanted to hurt Trump, why didn't he leak? Leaking would be illegal, it would be wrong. But if he's the no integrity guy that the GOP says he is, why didn't he do it? Number 1. Number 2, if he wanted to help Hillary Clinton, why did he keep pushing harder for more investigation into the probe on her and the emails with harsher tools like subpoenas and even calling for her to go before a grand jury? Number 3, if he wanted to hurt Donald Trump, wouldn't he be desperate to get on the Mueller team? Why would he drag his feet? He did. He texted Lisa Page, one of like a gazillion of them, right? That he wasn't sure there was any there with what Mueller was looking at. And maybe he should stay working on the Clinton probe or whatever. Why would he do that? Now, as an aside, I believe that there text works for Strzok, that he should have owned it today and said, where's my bias? I didn't even know if I wanted to join the probe. I wasn't even sure if there was anything there. He didn't do that. I'm not really sure why. So that's the take of what happened today. If you didn't have 10 hours to spend on it, let's get after the political implications with Republican Congressman from New York, Chris Collins. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Chris. It's been a while. I like this time slot better than the 7 a.m.
Well, thank you. Hopefully you will use it with me often. What do you make of the analysis? In your own view, what was accomplished in this hearing today?
Well, first of all, let's start by we have to remember as Americans that the FBI all the agents are not represented by Peter Strzok or Lisa Page. They're a stain on the FBI. And what we saw today, because there's no doubt about it, Agent Strzok had a very defiant, aggressive look about him in tone. And we just have to remember that we should respect all the other agents within the FBI and call out Peter Strzok and Lisa Page for what they are. And actually,
you think your fellow party members did that today in that hearing?
Well, today it was about the divisive nature in Congress. I was in a similar hearing in the Energy and Commerce Committee about the children who have all been united, the kids under age 5.
They've all been united now because the government doesn't confirm that.
Yeah, we have. All of the children that could be reunited with their parents in a safe environment.
That could be. All right, we'll leave that for another day. We'll leave that for another day. So you were like that in another hearing. Let's deal with one catastrophe at a time. This one, you felt in that room today the Republicans were respecting the FBI and only singling out Strzok? It didn't sound like that.
They were not after the FBI. They were after Strzok and his bias came through loud and clear in those texts. There's
but do
no
you think he acted on the bias?
Oh, I believe you can't take the bias out of your actions. I mean, I can't tell you at what step, but there's no two ways about it.
So you believe that every judge, every prosecutor, every cop, every investigator only does what they like to do in the course of their job?
Oh, no, of course not. They are professional. Agent Strzok is anything but professional, and he showed it today. This was a situation where it lined up on the Democrats and Republicans. It's a mid-year election year. The Democrats were defending him at every turn. The Republicans were attacking him at every turn. It's no different than the farm bill that we just tried to pass with no
but it is
Democrat
different.
support.
It's very different. It's very different. In fact, you know what? Come with me, Ellie. We're going back to the whiteboard. I want to show Chris Collins why it's different. Here's why it's different. Farm bill, you can fight about the significance of it. Tariffs, you can fight about the significance. They're policy judgments.
Correct.
What's right, what's wrong. Fair point, fair point. However, this is very different. This is about an investigation being tainted by one man's actions, not just his texts and his feelings. The bar for you guys is show us that he acted on his bias, because if that's not the bar, Chris, then all of us are in trouble, because all of us have feelings and opinions about one another, but we do the job. They didn't show me anything today. What did they show us today that proves he acted on the bias? That's the bar.
Well, it comes back to he was actually the agent in charge of both the Clinton email and the Russian investigation. He's been dismissed, by Mueller, and it just goes back again to a lot of Republicans feel the Mueller investigation has gone off on a tangent. That's
right?
correct.
But see, that's why I'm stopping you there, Chris. And I'm going to get to Mueller, because I agree with you. This is about Mueller. We saw it with Jordan. We saw it with Gates. Strzok is just a stepping stone for them to say that whatever Mueller comes up with can't be believed. And we'll talk about whether they made the case. But look, here's what they had to deal with today and overcome. He didn't leak anything about the Trump probe, even though he's a no-integrity guy, as you and all of your party members say. Why not? He pushed harder to investigate Hillary Clinton. Subpoena the people around her. Subpoena more materials. Put her in front of a grand jury. Does that sound like a guy who's trying to help Donald Trump and hurt Hillary Clinton? And then, when asked to be on the probe team, he writes his girlfriend, well, I'm not sure there's any there in the Mueller probe. Maybe I shouldn't go. Where is the proof of acting on the bias?
Well, it comes back to the bias speaks for itself. Again, he and Lisa Page are a stain on the FBI's reputation. I'm sure FBI agents across the country shudder when they see the body language and the facial expressions he had today, not really apologizing for anything he did. It was somewhat absurd.
But we're talking about his behavior, his demeanor, the texting, the affair, all bad. Let's assume it's all bad. It's not the bar. The bar is, I shouldn't believe as an American citizen what comes out of the Mueller probe, because this guy's dirty. And everything he did was dirty because he was out to get my president. How can I think that after today? What did they give me to go on?
Well, again, the bias speaks for itself, as Comey said.
It doesn't. You have to show it to me. Where did it manifest itself? Was he biased when he wanted to push harder on Hillary Clinton and get her to be in front of a grand jury? I don't get it. Why was he doing these competing things then?
Well, I mean, even go back to Comey, who said he reopened the Clinton probe because he wanted to make sure after she was elected president that they didn't feel like it was a whitewash. He did that to protect Hillary Clinton, not to go after Hillary Clinton.
Ask Hillary Clinton if she feels like that, Chris Collins. I'll tell you.
I mean,
you let me know if I'm helping you. If I came out with one of the worst pieces of dirty laundry I could find on you right before your election, and I said, hey, Chris, I'm trying to help you.
It certainly did not play out well, but he did not think there was any chance, nor did Peter Strzok, that she was going to win.
What I'm just saying is, and I know this isn't over. I know this isn't over because Jim Jordan was talking about connecting that the Mueller probe's only about the dossier. And Matt Gaetz was saying that Mueller's not doing his job because he didn't even ask this guy if he was biased or not. But to me, I don't know that they made a great case.